Hey, girly. How
I
are
like
you?
this red memo. We got the red memo.
I see. It's funny. I felt like because I'm wearing pink leggings and I was matching the painting happening in the background here, and that wasn't planned. And now I see you in the bright colors. So it was just a queen thing.
Energy. Energy.
Energy. Energy. Firstly, where are you coming in from?
Right now, I am in LA.
Are you really?
Yes, for like 4 minutes.
Oh my gosh. I know I originally reached out to you because about a photo shoot.
Yes.
So
I know.
now
I
you're
thought you
here.
guys had so much fun. I was like, damn, I wish I was gonna be here for that. But I'm literally leaving like in a few hours. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well,
I came
thank
in
you
to
for
help my
making
friend.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. This here, Hello Fitness TV, came about because as somebody that like lives in the health and fitness space, I just realized I have D'Angelo playing in the background. I don't know if you hear him, but that's my music. I just got it down. It was important for me to not only talk about obviously fitness and all the wonderful aspects that living a healthy lifestyle come with, but I recognized that I just wanted to chat with other people, talk about what I always say is optimum health, which is like mental, spiritual, emotional
Whole package.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is why Hello Fitness TV came about. Sorry. And so connecting with people like yourself, I'm grateful for because I know you're making the time to speak with me. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot going on in the world.
A lot.
Before we dive into that, because I also want to be mindful of your time, knowing that you have a few hours before you let's start here. First and foremost, this chat is presented by Truly, and I'm sipping. I don't know if you're familiar with this seltzer, but it's good.
Tell me about it.
It's delicious.
I
always want to bathe in it. That's why if I could smell like this, I would. I'm winning. But I want to start with this because this is how we're doing things. And it actually runs into how I like to start chats anyway. It's with gratitude. So I want to know, Makeba, first and foremost, before we dive into our conversation, what are you truly grateful for?
Right now in this time? Ooh, I mean, there's a lot of things, but I will break it down to health. I'm grateful for my health. And when I say that, I mean that on a level of even the ability to think, like my mental health, especially being able to see beyond a lot of veils, being able to think freely. So I think right now, like one of the most things that I'm most grateful for is my health.
Yeah. And it's funny that you also mentioned mental health because more than ever, and it's kind of like the silver lining in what we're going through as humanity, that is that there's a lot of people like me jumping up and down, doing a lot of workouts and things like that. But more than ever, we recognize now our mental health is something that has been often neglected, but something now that is becoming more and more apparent within people in general. Like a lot of people are fighting depression and not knowing that it's depression, or this idea of, just feeling down, feeling without hope. And so I love that you mentioned that because if you are healthy, mentally healthy, that speaks volumes. Because I personally know a lot of people that aren't, and so it's some really sad conversations about that and getting them to a better mental place. So I appreciate you saying so. I too, I'm actually really grateful for the same thing. Honestly, I'm not in the greatest fitness shape right now because I've been not in my regular routine.
I feel you.
Yeah, but I have been trying to pay more attention to self-care and understanding that as long as I'm feeling good here, then I have the tools and the capabilities to making everything else better. So I second that.
Yeah. It's fact,
so moving on from that, what I also personally like to ask people is that in a world where, I mean, girl, you're considered do we call you like a hair enthusiast or like what is
I'm a hairstylist, like a licensed stylist as well, but I'm also I'm enthusiast as well because I'm a little about it. But
girl, I didn't know that. The tips and everything. Okay. So with that, we're a lot of things. I know health and fitness is also a thing for you. You also live in an influencer space because you always shoot out amazing content.
Thank you.
You're a lot of things, as many women are, as many people are. But what I like to ask is this. Who is Makeba outside of all the titles of what you do? Like what you do for a living, what you do. Who are you outside of these titles? And if you need an example, I'm happy to give one because sometimes this question is a little difficult for people to ask.
Yeah, because it's like I feel like who I am is pretty dynamic.
Yeah.
Who I am is very opinionated.
Okay, I love that.
I'm one of those like, I was one of those Y kids, you know? So it's like, I think when people, like my platform is very like kind of carefree and fun and like goofy and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm also somebody who takes like, I take life itself, I think, really serious in a way. And I'm like one of those like existential thinkers. And I'm like one of those people who believes like anything is possible. And like, I've got a very like, I'm an air sign, so I very much have an air kind of personality, and I'm very passionate about topics that I actually don't always talk about on my platform. So I think outside of what people see, people don't see like there's a, when it comes to my passion for humanity and freedom, and just progress within the Black community, like people see glimpses of and pieces of that, but I don't think they really know how deep that really runs.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. We should dive into that. Can we dive there? Because
Yeah.
if it's something that you don't typically sharing on social media, my question is why not?
Okay, one is I know I have a lot of really unpopular opinions about certain things. And I don't think that, and I think when I test the waters with it sometimes just to see, I think sometimes people aren't ready to hear the things that I have to say and maybe not ready to hear it from me.
Interesting.
Because I think when you are like, hey, fun, goofy, da da da, and then you say something, sometimes people are like, oh, like the amount of people who have said to me, I had no idea you thought like that. I had no idea that was like, you know what I mean? Like they had no idea.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes I just think what happens is like, you know, when you ruffle people's feathers a bit too much, and then they start to feel uncomfortable. And my thing is like, I'm not here to, I want to share the truth, but at the same time, like if you're not ready to hear it, I don't want to be shoving something down your throat.
Yep.
You know?
I absolutely agree.
So that's kind of my middle ground is like sharing a bit, but sometimes I think you just have to sometimes find some kind of balance of keeping things either to yourself or to the right people that you think are going to be effective in telling in those moments and in those instances. So
yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly how I feel sometimes too. It's like, you know, when you identify your tribe, like, oh, I get you, you get me. And like
now we can
when I say something to many others, I might sound like a crazy woman. But to other people, they're like, I get you.
I get you.
Makes sense.
I got it. Yeah.
So it's like, I get that in social media. We also have this platform where we're typically trying to reach the masses of our platform, and sometimes certain information or our ideologies, if you will, are reserved for our tribes. So I get that. Yeah. So if we are talking about ideologies and say philosophies on how you see the world or see yourself in the world, is there something that you perhaps are vulnerable enough to share? Say something. For instance, I'll give you an example. I was raised Christian-like, if you will. I was raised in the church. My family are devout Seventh-day Adventists. And if anybody knows that we go to church on Saturdays, it's very similar just to Christianity, nothing crazy. But we were kind of raised in that space. My grandparents are highly religious, and they had 8 children that some were just like, you know, when we have our own kids, we're not going to go heavy into religion. So I had a mother that was like that. So we were respectfully in the church with my grandparents, but like at home, not so strict. However, I think my mother went through a certain change, an awakening, if you will. And she went through a path of her own spiritual journey that was aligned to Christianity, but not really. So her influence over how I perceive myself, how I perceive myself in the world, how I view God, how I see God is probably not your traditional religiousness. You know, and so when I talk about certain, exactly. So when I talk about certain things, I don't ever shy away from my personal ideologies. But like if I reference God and praying, because I certainly do that, I definitely refer to myself as a God-fearing woman. But my idea of God might not be how somebody that's in the church every Sunday perceives God. Like I often refer to God as a she, you know? So that's just an example of, say, my personal ideologies. Is there something that you feel vulnerable enough to perhaps share?
I think in terms of like our existence in this world, I think we're energy, number one. I think that we're love. I think that we I think that And like you said, I think the idea and the concept of God is something that is more internal than it is external.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that a part of the game is that most people think it is external. So most people aren't able to find that because they're not looking within. They're not able to tap into that power. They're not able to realize that that energy they're looking for, that savior or that all that stuff, it's right here. It's right here.
Inside.
And that's why it doesn't matter if you're in a bush in the middle of nowhere or whatever it is. Like, the idea of thinking that you need four walls and someone else to connect you to your creator just doesn't really sit well with me. It's kind of like, what? No, why would he do that? Or she or it? Right? It's like right here, you can literally look within. And that's why meditation is so important. I think people think it's like this trendy thing. And it's just about like, yeah, just sit there and be quiet. And it's like, no, like it's a deep dive within. I'm one of those people who really believe in like humans having, like when people say they're human, they always use it in a way of limitations. And I think that that's a lie. Like, to be honest, I think that's actually the reverse. I think we're human and we're actually way more powerful than we realize, but we are so disconnected from ourselves within because we're always looking out. Everything is a distraction. Like literally our whole Western world is built on distractions, right? So we're so disconnected from our godly abilities and this potential and this ability that all we think of ourselves when we think of as human is like when we make mistakes or when we, our skin gets cut. Like, you know what I mean? You ever notice that? We don't really say I'm human in a way of like, of excellence. We usually say I'm human in a way of limitation and in a way of disappointment.
Yeah, like I'm just human.
Always.
I'm just human. Oh my gosh, you understand what that yeah.
As opposed to being like, I can overcome any obstacle that's in front of me because I'm human. Like I can, you know what I mean? We don't really do that. Yeah. And so I kind of try to have that approach as opposed to the other way around where it's like, I'm this human, this being that was created with so much. And it's like, it's a part of my journey and a part of my purpose, I think, to reconnect, to like unlearn and relearn and start to tap in. I might not reach it in this lifetime, but I think it's a part of the journey. And while I go on that journey, is trying to share some of that with other people kind of along the way.
Yeah. I love that. As you're speaking, I'm literally, so as I said earlier, we're from the same tribe.
Yes, definitely.
Because I truly believe, obviously very myriad ideologies regarding that. My mother's always said, you are godlike. God created you, so you are a piece of God is here, and the power within is so vast.
It's like
you have no idea. And then she introduced me to meditation and this idea that God sits here always. Like it's never something that I have to externally reach. And there's actually verses in our Bible that reference that heaven is here. It's within, and there's words I use, and perhaps I'll share that on my Instagram, a post that my mother literally shared yesterday. So I love that we're talking about this because I think perhaps mom just manifested it for our conversation. But yeah, I always try to explain myself not being disconnected from God or be pagan-like, or it's just literally a different perspective of what God is to me, and that moves me spiritually in ways that makes me feel God-like. Not seek God, but then because God created me, I am him, I am she. So like I feel like we're very similar in that sense, and I think that's really beautiful. And I also get, as an influencer in this space, that sometimes certain messaging is not meant for everyone.
It's not.
And we try to be respectful of that, as well as stand true in who we are. So I applaud you on that as well. There's so much to talk about. Like literally with everything going on in our worlds, like I find myself very overwhelmed with the political climate, with race and equality issues and the battle of. As a woman of color, I know that you're also using your platform to share positive messages to other women of color. As it pertains to not just health and beauty, hair, but other things that you have mentioned also. Could you share, say, what is your life mantra, Makeba? Like as far as what your key messaging is to what you share on your social media platforms, if people were to describe who you are as far as what you share and what you believe in, what is that, and what do you feel is your key messaging to other women of color?
I mean, there's like different sides of it. So my whole name being like, why not keep, comes from the idea of saying like, why not? why not try a ting? Like, that's always what I say. Like, try a ting. Just try it. Because you sitting there and not trying is not helping you in any way, shape, or form. And then the other thing that always has stuck with me has been like, move and make it happen. So if there's something that you want, you move and make it happen. And I think as, you know, as being a dark-skinned woman, you know, you go through a lot of, I mean, I guess we obviously all go through different types of criticism, but we know that the media has kind of, you know, always kind of framed dark as negative, you know, black as bad and stuff. But I think in coming into myself, one of the biggest things I found was that my perception of me changed the world's perception of me in a way. It changed my bubble. It changed my experiences, right? So that, to any woman of color, it's like, I know we are going up against some of the biggest obstacles in this lifetime, but you have to work on right here first and create your atmosphere, because with that power of manifestation, you're going to open doors that you thought couldn't get opened. And the thing is, we're manifesting beings whether we want to or not. So you kind of have to be mindful no matter what, because if you don't, you're going to manifest that negative experience as well. And I think that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people to sometimes accept, because you think like, well, I didn't ask for this to happen, right? We didn't, but sometimes your biggest fear becomes your reality, right? And I'm not saying like I've willfully wanted people to be racist to me throughout my life, but growing up and knowing what my circumstances are and feeling fear, I may have attracted some of those encounters. You know what I mean? So why don't I, so for me, it's kind of been the opposite now, where I was like, I work on me, I work on my people, and I work on repelling. Like, I'm really big on repelling. I'm repelling the negativity, repelling those kind of instances and circumstances, so that I can then break down walls and do what I need to do. And the other thing is, I would say for women of color, is to stop seeking validation from white people. It's like, it's tiring. Stop thinking that you've made it now because your white boss says you made it. Stop thinking you've made it now because we constantly look at ourselves as successful based on this white standard. And I think it's impossible and it's exhausting, because that white standard was never meant to include us. Right. So we're fighting for inclusion. But what about our own? What about our own? Like, how about owning that? How about valuing that? You know what I mean? How about, instead of always like fighting to be accepted into this, it's like, I'm one of those people who really truly believes that the only way Black people will really truly see progress in this country, on this land, is to have their own, is to be a sovereign state, have nationalism, right? Where we can build, because if we look at Black Wall Street and times of segregation, we were doing our best. Like, we had our own doctors, we had our own grocery stores, we had our own whatever. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, because it sounds like, you're for segregation? Like, how could you be? And I'm like, I'm not talking about segregating in the sense of like, I hate white people. I'm talking about building our communities, focusing on our communities, because for some reason, it's only when it comes to Black people that the concept of us building our own is a problem.
Yes,
every other community does it.
Yeah.
Jewish people do it, Indian people do it, Asian people do it, and no one has a problem with it. But the second we talk about doing our own, it's a negative thing, and it's like, how dare you be for segregation? And it's all about integration. It's all about integration. I'm like, yeah, but every other community that's successful has their own. And you work with other communities still, but we need to have our own. We need to build our own. We need land. We need spaces. We need, you know what I mean? Because all this knocking on doors, cultivate, build roots. Like, you think about other immigrants coming here who were true immigrants. They were given land, they were given money, they were given something to start up. We weren't given any of those things. Nothing. We were taken, we were brought here against our will, and then completely disrupted, shaken up. And I think to anybody who thinks that those things were not malicious and meant to last forever, please read Willie Lynch's Letter of Making a Slave, because you will see that it is malicious and it was meant to last a lifetime. It was meant to put us in the position that we're in right now. But again, the number one thing I would say to any woman of color who's struggling, stop looking for that white validation. Please define your own means of success, and understand that you have the power to repel, break down, and shape your entire life despite the past. Like, that's really what I believe.
That is a strong word. There's so many things to unpack there, which I love. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
I was like, oh my gosh, where can I add here? This is insane. But it's funny that you say, like, you're trying to repel like anything that essentially, what's the word I'm looking for? Attacks this being royal life or queen life. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a big word, that's a big statement. How do we do that? I have my kind of definition of what I think that means, but in your own words, since it's your statement, how would one do the pushback on that?
I think it's visualizing is a part of it. Knowing your power, identifying that you are powerful first. So when you start to accept that I am a powerful being, I'm a powerful being. I also think if you don't know that you're powerful yet, and you're not sure, you're gonna need to start saying it at the very minimum. So if that means putting it on your mirror and saying it every single day, I don't care if you believe it or not, keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it. Because I'm big on affirmations. I'm big on in the mirror, looking in my own eyes. Like I didn't always think I was powerful. I definitely thought I had no power. I felt like I was the bottom of the barrel. I felt like I was ugly. I felt like it was all the things. And it wasn't until I was tired of being like, well, what? Like, this can't be it, you know? So you say, here, let me try a tank. So I really believe in those affirmations, those looking in the mirror, saying things until you believe it or don't yet, because it's gonna manifest.
Yeah.
Your brain, it's brainwash, but the good kind. Because everything else is brainwashing us at the end of the day, right? People are constantly telling you what you are, what you aren't, how you can act, how you can't. How about you tell yourself?
Programming, yeah.
Programming. So we gotta reprogram ourselves. We gotta unlearn and program. So in order to program, we gotta do it every day. Like in that mirror, I am powerful, I'm powerful, I'm powerful, existing in these spaces in your mind, your imagination. See yourself walking in the type of life that you want, right? And like attract that into your space. But yeah.
I love that so much. To add on to that, because I agree, I literally was thinking the exact same thing, and you just took the words out of my mouth. I will also say, for anyone also struggling to understand their own personal power, outside of everything Makeba just said, what's also really important, which also helps me, is find your tribe. Find those
like-minded people,
women, people in general that actually align to the way you want to think, the way you want to walk in the life. Surround yourself with people that are going to uplift you and hold you accountable and remind you about how beautiful and how powerful you really are. Because sometimes, and I've done the same thing, Makeba, like I was that affirmation queen. When I was pulling myself out of a bad place, I would have Post-it all over my apartment in my mirror. First thing I would see as I brushed my teeth was these positive words of affirmations. And if I didn't believe myself, then I certainly taught myself to believe in the words that were coming out of my mouth, to look at myself in the mirror and understand that, you know, everything that I have been conditioned to believe was a lie, and that I am in full control of my own destiny by first believing in myself. And so so you would say like everything out of your mouth. I was like, yes, and yes. And it's true. It's true. Now, these types of things can be considered, you know, kind of crazy, or like, that's kind of, you know, or even cliches, or this little like meditation and like, you know, the artsy fartsy things. What I tend to tell people all the time is that if there are enough people talking about all the little crazy things and like meditation is not for me, all these types of things, there's got to be some truth behind the power of what we're talking about. Because I don't know about you, girl, but like literally everybody that I know that moves like a boss, that has like an unwavering sense of self-love, and they're in the world that they exist, are literally practicing certain things that I personally have adopted into my life and my routine.
I totally agree.
So if you choose not to believe, that's fine. But you are missing out on recognizing not my power, not Makeba's power, but literally the power that's within yourself, based on certain things or tools, if you will, to know how to ignite them, how to keep them lit, and to understanding that they are real for you. So I love that you mentioned that. And again, for those people like, oh, that shit don't work, it absolutely does. And I feel like we're both setting examples, right? Because I don't know about you, but I tell people, like, the idea of success for me in this life is literally this: to create the life that I want.
Amen.
What makes me happy. That's it. That's all. And
Period.
because of that reason, I am freaking successful, because everything I do is geared to that one goal.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Just want to create the life in this lifetime, what I love to do.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
So
I agree.
keep that in mind, y'all. Keep that in mind. I love that.
And I mean, dude, what do you have to lose?
Years.
That's
You have your life, the years in which you are to live and breathe and exist on this earth in this time. That's what you have to lose. So if you want to make use of that time, right?
Hey,
why not?
Why not? Why not try
Why
anything?
not?
You see, why not? That's what I'm saying. Why not?
I love that. I love that. Moving on to something more personal. Like everybody seems to be pivoting in business due to the pandemic, girl, or adjusting what they're doing, where they're prioritizing their time and energy.
Yeah.
Talk to me. What you up to? What are you doing?
I definitely had to. I feel like for me in the beginning, first I had to process. I took everything pretty hard, to be honest, in the beginning, like really early, because I knew this wasn't going to be a 2-week lockdown. I knew it wasn't going to be.
Oh, see, I was the opposite, but okay.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I was in like 2-3 weeks going, oh, would this be over with? I got stuff to do. But
girl,
week 5, 6, I was like, oh my gosh.
You're like, what?
I was terrified. Okay, so you took it hard early. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. So from March, I was having conversations with people before we went on lockdown officially. And they were like, Makeba, you're being dramatic. It's not going to be like this. This is not going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. All this
that
stuff.
Was me.
And I'm going, okay, all right, fine. I'm going to just let you do what you want to do. But I also need to do what I want to do right now, which is in March, I knew that the world as we knew it was done. Wow. And I know that sounds so morbid. I know it sounds depressing. I know it sounds wrong. I know it sounds all the like negative things.
I know what you mean.
But it was the truth. And like the second they announced that they were going to put us on lockdown, I was like, these are some unprecedented times. The world as we know it will never be the same, because they just flicked a switch and the whole world was on the same page. And I was like, okay, guys, this is not no 2-week nothing. This is something they're going to try to keep around for a very long time. Like, this is not, and look where we are. Yeah. It's August. Yeah. And things are still
with no signs of hope in sight.
Nothing.
Like, there's no like, hey guys, by this
there's no hope.
Nothing.
All they're telling us is that shit's going to get worse. Like, you know what I mean? Get ready for the second wave. Like, life is never going to be the same. The new normal. We're never going to, even the governor tweeting about how we're never going to get past this. We need to learn to live with it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to mourn first. My process was mourning. I was struggling a bit with depression, all those different things and feelings. I was glad that I was already in a position where digitally, I wasn't in a situation where I was like, yes, it affected my life and my business, but not in the way that like to other people have been completely like disrupted, right? But I had this weird guilt in the beginning about trying to capitalize on this. So I really couldn't. I was really in a rut where I didn't even want to create content. I didn't want to do anything because I'm like, yeah, I know everybody's sitting at home, but I can see where this is going, and I feel like I don't know if I can just create content like I would normally, because I'm like, what's the point? Like all this.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I had to find my power. I had to go through my processes. I had to do things like that. So after I mourned, found my power, processed and accepted, and said that, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm still here. I still open my eyes, which means God's not done with me. And it means that I still have a position, a purpose, a place. So what do I need to do? Kind of thing. So I am actually working on a few different products that are going to be coming out before the end of the year.
That's amazing.
So, and I feel like I'm doing it with that, like, I feel like anything I would have done 5 months ago, or when this first happened for me personally, would have felt like it wasn't going to be authentic to myself because of what I was going through. Sure. Whereas now I feel like I'm ready to share some of these ideas and some of these things I was working on before, but I stopped completely because of everything that was going on. And I was just like, does this matter anymore? You know what I mean? So I think, yeah, definitely e-commerce. It's nothing going to be, stationary that people can walk up in and experience, because that's where everything's moving. I think almost all of us have had to find a way to pivot to create. If we weren't selling something online before, we got to start.
Yeah.
And I think that's anybody. Even if it's teaming up with a girlfriend and saying, guys, let's do this, or whatever it is, finding that thing that you can share with the world digitally. So I've definitely I've definitely almost now too went from the morning sadness, not doing my, feeling like what's the point, to now a whole new leaf has turned and I'm ready to be like, let's
Yeah.
go, let's get this.
I love that. It's a complete 180 mindset though. But I love that you said you had to mourn it first because it is like that actual realization that things will not be the same, and to understand and detach from like this, like for me, the ignorance of like this sort of changed too much. It'll be fine. Let it pass. Let it pass. Let it pass. I'm like, oh shit, this shit ain't passing.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What next? And I mourned later before then. I was like, well, dang, I can't just sit here and like wait it out.
Yes,
Otherwise,
exactly.
life is gonna happen without me. And so I went through that same process, but like flipped almost. But now I am very much in this mindset is like, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
We're gonna fight.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And what I will say, because you are a fellow woman of color, what I am finding is that Black women, not to toot our own horns, are actually very, very successful at pivoting and making something work.
We've been under attack our whole lives.
Yeah, exactly.
We like, what's another thing? Let's go.
Yeah.
We do what we
gotta do.
Another
conversation. I think but it's true. It's not just me saying so or my opinion. It's like Forbes saying,
it's
Black women
at this point.
Black women are serial entrepreneurs and making shit happen.
Yeah.
And you're welcome. Right? You need us. We are the life. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
So, but no, I love that. I love, and I, as another woman of color, I love seeing other sisters like move and shake in different ways, especially when the odds are against us, especially in times like this. And so it's really important for me to recognize other women like yourself, because I too are like want to be in a position, or I am in a position to then be able to give back, support, because I think that is also another opportunity where we can again show love, like self-love in our communities by really connecting with our communities and fellow women in business. And so I think that's really beautiful. You'll have to let me know when those products drop.
Yes, I will. Actually, even thinking about that makes me think about too, with people adapting in the sense of like, even with a lot of people questioning, are my kids going back to school, or is this happening? It's like people are coming together too to be like, all right, well, I can homeschool. Everyone pays X amount of money. Like just like really cool, creative ideas on how to deal with this and how to pivot and just like still make life work. Because I feel like moving forward, there's a lot of things that we're gonna have to like be okay with getting rid of or losing, maybe depending on where you stand with certain things, I guess. But yeah, it's a big unlearning time, I'd say. Yeah,
no, and I think if anything, that is one of my key words for 2020. Unlearn, because a lot of things that I knew to be true, or at least adopted as my reality, have actually been a lie.
Yes.
And now I'm finding again my own power to create as I see it, and not externally. I don't know if that makes sense. No, but I love that word, and you've used it numerous times in this conversation, which I love.
It's been my like thing, and reveal. That's been like the two things.
Ooh, yeah.
This 2020 is the year of reveal for me. Yeah. Like, and if you think about it, 2020 vision, but low key, so much is coming to light this year. Whether you want to believe it or not, or something going on. Period. Like, no one can deny that at this point. Like, the world is shifting.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
It is funny. I'm just reading someone's comment. It just disappeared. But like someone asked, what are the certain resources or tools that you're doing to unlearn? So I have an answer for that. But please, if there's something you'd like to share.
I think, what's the best way to start? I grew up with a dad who was very much an unlearner, like a very much like alternative information my whole life. So that kind of helps set foundations. But I think start with, I guess it depends on what you want to learn first, but let me start with the inner work. So let's like, okay, the power of now. The power of now.
I love it.
The Power of Now is one of my favorite books. Girl. And I listen to that thing probably every week, because it's kind of like you have to keep, it's like bathing. You can't really do it once and think you good for the rest of the year. You got to do it daily. You got to, you got to keep it up. So I think something like that, the power of now, that's going to help you unlearn your perspective on yourself and the way that you might view the world is going to help, I think, with your inner power. And then when it comes to unlearning sometimes like what we know as, history or facts, like that's where it comes, like, I feel like there's a lot of social media accounts, honestly, that will spark that. Will get you kind of just to think a little bit, and then you can go and now do the research, right? If you're questioning the medical industry and you're uncertain about, history and past or the relationship with Black people, but then you hear about the Tuskegee experiments, why don't you just go look into it, see what happened? And now you can start to learn, you're unlearning what you thought, an establishment was maybe about, and then, you know what I mean? Because I think it just, like I said, it depends on what type of things you're trying to unlearn. Starting with the inner power is important because it's going to help you free your mind to see the world even differently, because you can't unlearn if you're attached to everything that you know and you think that cannot be shaken or wrong.
Right.
That's another step. It's like, well, first understand that you may not know what you think you know.
Yeah.
And then from there, start to dig a little.
Yeah.
See a little,
Yeah. I absolutely think that it starts with the passion to want to first recognize and understand that everything that you've ever been taught, even from a young child, may not be true.
Yeah.
And this idea to want to learn more. And it's something really simple. As an example, I always thought that slaves never fought back. The only story I ever heard was Nat Turner. What I'm now coming to understand is slaves were fighting back
in all different ways. All different ways.
All the time. So much so that Abraham Lincoln didn't necessarily free the slaves. He had no choice because he was about to be overthrown by the revolution. And there's a whole bunch of research that I've been looking into, just as an example. I won't go there. But again, it's first recognizing that, maybe everything that I've ever learned to be true is not. And then doing your own research and understanding what really happened. And remember, those history books are always written by the victor, the one that won. So it's always biased.
The oppressor is not going to write about those that they're oppressing in a good light or share, because you have to think of it, they are the oppressor. They're trying to keep their power. And in order to keep their power, you have to have a certain mentality amongst your sheeple. And if they don't have that mentality in check, then if we all knew our power, if we all knew, where we were coming from in our history and all these things, it'd be a lot harder for us to be controlled.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's why, earlier when you were mentioning other peoples, Jewish people, Chinese people, Indian people, how they all come together and they're not necessarily viewed negatively, or how they're so against the masses. But when Black people do it, it's that we have that negative connotation hovering over us. And I wonder why. I'm like, are they so afraid of our power?
Yes.
Are they so afraid that if Black people together, what that means, what that actually could accomplish? And I answer my own questions. They're freaking terrified.
If you think about what we've been through, that is the only explanation. An entire race, no matter where we go in this world, we're being targeted even within Africa, because European rule still has a whole bunch of ties on that continent. So even though you're there and you're amongst Black people and you're thinking, we've got Black leaders and all this stuff, it's but they're in the pockets of the same oppressors. There's a whole facade happening, right? But when you lift that veil, you see the strings, you see where things have been being controlled all this time, and you're like, damn, just follow the money.
Yeah,
follow the money. Follow the money and follow family names, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, that's wow. And then someone also had mentioned, how do you then control the narrative? And what I always say, it always starts at home. Understand that you are king, you are queen, and children or a younger generation underneath you. You must instill this level of royalty, of love, in all its richness to the younger generation, because it's only going to perpetuate as they get older if they recognize these things and have the tools and weapons to deflect everything else society is going to tell them as they grow up. So that's one thing I do in my household, is to understand that my stepkids or my bonus kids are always, although are Black children, understand that they are never the other or never below or never underneath, that they need to walk with that air and that chin up high. And it starts with that. It starts with at home training, I think.
Yeah, because I think we can't control the narrative of the media. We can't. We never have been able to. The media decides what they want to share, what they want to do, and they have their own agenda. So we need to stop thinking that we can control that. It doesn't
wasted
matter.
energy if we do.
Exactly. Wasted energy. Like you said, home, at your home, within yourself, within your community. Again, trying to change the narrative, like, based on the oppressor system, to me, is exactly that again, of the white validation. Trying to get success, like trying to ask Massa to free you. He ain't gonna free you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So just don't worry about that narrative. Build your own, like you said, in your home. You're gonna make sure that your boys are kings, and that's all we can do. So it's the same thing, right? Make sure your daughters are queens. Make sure your nephews are, you know, all that stuff. Like, all we can do is empower ourselves, and that's why I keep saying us. Focus on us.
I love it.
I saw
feel
a
like
comment
this conversation will go on forever, and I know, I just want to be really respectful of your time. However, girl, I always finish with what we call rapid questions, where I just throw rapid questions at you, and you're going to give me an answer to whatever first comes to mind. Would you mind if we finish off there?
Yeah, we can do that. I'm scared though, because I'd be like a Gemini, and I'd be like thinking about things like, okay, but if that was the case, then like, but what about in this situation? But what was the weather outside?
What do you mean? Do you mean like work, or do you mean Trust me, I am the same way. And sometimes these questions end up in a conversation, but we'll try our best.
Okay, here we go.
All right. And again, these are just fun. It allows you to be able to share something that perhaps some of your followers or those listening, or those that will listen, because this will live, can get to know about you a little better. Okay. Your favorite genre of music?
I'm gonna have to say, well, it's reggae. It's reggae. It's reggae and Afro beats. I'm like, you know,
an Afrobeat.
Yeah.
But then again, all in there.
Yeah, but then it's like you could call it all coming from the same, you know, source. But yes, we're gonna say reggae because it's the way it makes me feel. That's my culture, and it's just, there's nothing else that hits me the same way like that.
I feel you. I'm with it. I'm with it. My fiance, if you were to ask him if he could be any other nationality than what he is, he says Jamaican all day.
Oh, really?
Like in his soul, he's Jamaican, and he loves Jamaican music. You come to my house, and he's got like the Pandora, you know, Jamaican reggae, all that. So I get that. We're big fans. Okay, what is your love language?
Number one is I'm acts of service.
Acts of service. Number two?
Acts of service, physical touch.
Physical touch. Okay.
Those are my two prime ones, yeah.
Love it. Land or sea?
For
like, okay, it's just so generally speaking, like, for me personally, some people like to be on the water. Water brings peace, calm. Or some people like, no, I like land because I just feel I like to be grounded. I like to be.
How about this? I like to be on the land but can see the sea.
Okay, I'll take it. You're the first person to answer it like that, and I'm feeling that.
So I can jump in, come out. You know what I mean?
That's the best answer ever. I love it. Name one person you would love to have an in-depth conversation with, dead or alive.
Marcus Garvey.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like in history, Marcus Garvey was kind of like overlooked at times.
Yeah, because they said he was crazy and then like killed him. So even though he wanted Pan-Africanism, Black people working together, building our own Black economics. Number one. Like,
yes. And then what I have learned about him is that he was hyper intelligent, like so smart. Yeah. So really cool. I love that. Nice. Can you name somebody you admire? Again, dead or alive?
Dead or alive, someone that I really admire. I really admire Bob Marley. I love him. He was like my first crush when I was like 5, but like I admire his music, the message, the rebellion, the like it's of this time. The movement is just still here. Yeah, you know. For sure. That's the first thing that came to mind.
Bob Marley to me is an absolute vibe. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you. Sneakers or stilettos?
I'm gonna have to go with a sneak.
Yeah.
But I still want to put the stiletto on sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Or kitten heel. I'm on the kitten heel now. You know, when you get to a certain age, you just want the kitten heel.
Yeah. My fiance is like, don't be wearing no little heels. Don't, I want to see no little, what do you call them? Keep it, nah. You either go all out or keep your ass in some sneakers. I'm like, all right.
Yo, that's so
all right.
funny.
All right, moving on. I got a couple left. I promise I'll let you go after that. Name one thing about your body that you love.
I love my back.
So many things.
I love my back.
Nice.
It has definition, you know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate it.
I love it. It's funny. That's actually the one thing that I hate.
Really?
Everybody has their thing, right? My back. That's the one thing I'm like, nah. So,
Nah.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know why. It's just my thing. Okay, one thing that you love about your personality?
I have come to love that I question everything. I thought it was a bad thing growing up, and I'm so thankful now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So that's, yeah.
So you'll jinx yourself. You'll have a daughter that is like, but why? But why?
And guess what? I'm gonna be like, this is why.
And you'll be like, oh,
her.
why?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Because my niece is like that, and she's a Gemini, and so it's like, I get it. And my sister knows how to deal with her because of that. So it's like, but the thing is with why kids, the biggest problem is if you don't actually tell them why, they keep going.
No,
so
yeah.
If you don't explain, yeah, like with her, she could be like, Auntie Kiba, please, like mom's not letting me play with this. Like she just won't. And I'm like, hold on a sec. If we just sit here right now, we can actually play a different kind of game, but we're going to play in our minds instead of you jumping on the bed. So we're going to think, and she's like, oh, okay, all right. It's like, you just have to reason with them, right? They don't like the whole, like, no, you just can't. Because they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Explain.
I love those kids. It shows like a different type of awareness about themselves at such a young age.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love it. I gotta want two more, promise. Two more. One thing you would tell your 16-year-old self.
Girl.
Yeah.
Honestly, you got to let these insecurities go. You are powerful, you are great, and your mind, the way that it works, is actually extremely beneficial. Just because you don't like school right now, that doesn't mean you're not intelligent. This is not your learning style, but let's just get through this real quick so we can move on to some boss things later. Let's do that.
Like, yes!
That's what I'd say to her.
If anyone 16 that heard that message, you need to play that back.
I know, right?
Perfect.
I need to record that.
Okay, two more, and I promise I'll let you go.
No, girl.
Your answers have been giving me life. If your house was burning down, name one thing you would grab.
Passport.
That says a lot. It says a lot about it. That's awesome. And last and final, and I promise, this is it. Name one thing on your bucket list that you have not yet accomplished.
I haven't been to Egypt.
I
haven't been to Egypt. I haven't seen the pyramids. I haven't done some digging and research there.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So it's a travel.
Yes.
Yes. Have you been to Morocco?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I just see you creating beautiful content
in Morocco
around Moroccan art or like architecture. Because I always think that I just want to go to Morocco because I'm obsessed with like the textiles, and the architecture. So that's something too. But yeah, Egypt. I've heard mixed things about it, so it doesn't make my top 5. But now that you said it, I'm like, whatever Makeba does, I think I want to go.
You know what will make you want to go to Egypt? There's a documentary called The Pyramid Code.
The Pyramid Code?
Pyramid Code. It's like a 5-part series. Ooh, you want to unlearn? Watch The Pyramid Code. It'll make you start questioning.
Wait, let us know. Netflix?
Yeah, I think it's on Netflix now. I watched, yeah, it is, because I rewatched it again, like when all this stuff happened on Netflix. It is on Netflix. It's like a 5-part series. It's super good. If you're into like history and alternate facts and like Egypt and it's incredible.
Mind blowing?
Yes, you're gonna be like,
put that on my list.
It's so good.
Okay, check on my list. The Pyramid Code, Netflix. For anybody listening, we'll watch it together.
Hey,
Makeba, my fellow sister.
Yes,
I personally just think you're. When I first met you, it was your beauty that I'm like, gosh, she's beautiful. Then we spoke, and then I recognized that you literally seemed full of grace and just seemed to float, and you just had a certain love energy around you. And I'm not joking. I mean that. And so as a fellow sister, I just want to let you know I recognize your light. I appreciate you being in the world, sharing what you believe, sharing on Instagram and social media, and inspiring us all. And I'm personally very grateful again that you've come online and taken time out of your day to speak with me here on Hello Kids TV.
Honestly, thank you for having me. And I want to say, because I followed you for a long time back in the day. And I used to be like, on social media, there's always some people that you're like, this person just, you know, it just feels so real. Like it feels, yeah, you just feel like there's something.
I know.
I mean, you're not sure, right? And then I met you in person. I was like, you are the real deal. So everyone out there, y'all, social media, you meet a lot of people. There's a lot of people. Lita is the real deal, y'all. I'm not joking. Her energy is like everything matches up. You're not this person who's just like, yeah, social media, this is da. And then you meet you and you're like, ooh, they don't match up. You are the real deal. And I really appreciate that because we need that authenticity online. People need to see that. They need to feel that. And yours comes right through. So thank you.
I receive that as a gift. Thank you so much. Truly, I appreciate that very much. Very much. I say this. I never like to say goodbye, so it's like, till next time.
A la
And
prochaine.
next time you're in LA, you should hit me up.
Yes, I will let you know next time. I came to help my girlfriend move, actually. So I came in for like 48 hours.
Oh, wow. You are a good friend.
We all help each other move. She helped me move too. So, you know, it's like, we gotta.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, like, seriously, next time you're in town,
know.
maybe we'll be outside of this pandemic and we can grab a coffee or something.
And if we're not, we'll make it work because that's what we do.
That's what we do, girl. But seriously, sis, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
guys,
thanks for having
I hope
me.
you learn as much as I have in this. I recognize Makeba is now part of my tribe. And if you feel like you're part of our tribe, then kudos to you. Let's all stay in touch.
Yeah.
And again, thank you.
Thanks
Safe travels back home.
All right, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for